A coronavirus task force meeting is underway at this hour. Vice President Mike Pence joining with other members to discuss the uptick in virus cases across the U.S. The administration insists there will be no mask mandate despite calls for a national strategy. Take a listen.
And yet, when we look at masks and the wearing of masks, that's done on a location basis when you can't have social distancing. But certainly a national mandate is not in order. We're allowing our governors and our local mayors to weigh in on that.
All right, here to discuss is Dan Henninger from the Wall Street Journal. Dan, great to see you. You're also, of course, a Fox News contributor. Can't forget that. Dan, I get the sense this is going to be a growing issue for the Democrats. We just had Cuomo blasting the president, accusing him of enabling the virus and downplaying the threat of the virus, and pointing to what they say should be a national strategy. What's your opinion on all of this?
Well, it looks to me, Ash, as though it's going to center around the idea of whether we need a quote-unquote mandate to wear masks at the national level. And, I mean, just think about it for 2 seconds, and it's quite obvious a mandate would not be in the least bit enforceable. I mean, what police out there is supposed to run around chasing people who are or are not wearing masks? And it would break down for the same reason a lot of the social distancing does. I think there's a lot of public mistrust of the authorities on the coronavirus. They keep getting mixed messages. It's not clear what people should do. And partly that's because the coronavirus, the science itself, is not well understood. And so the authorities have kind of defaulted to the most conservative points of view on this. And that with the reopening is a point of view and a position that really has been breaking down. And I think it's been difficult to convince people to do things like this.
I think you're right. I want to pull back now and just talk about the Trump campaign in general. It's interesting. I was watching Karl Rove the other day, and he was saying it's time for the Trump campaign to hit the reset button. Take a listen to this.
When you're in the barrel, when you're getting a lot of bad press and the polls are going against you, you need to do something that says we're moving in a different direction. That's what I mean by a reset.
Do you think he's right, Dan? Is this time for the Trump campaign to kind of reassess and perhaps re-message?
I don't know whether I'd go so far as to say they need to reboot completely. I would like to emphasize two things. The country has just gone through an extraordinary period. First, the pandemic, unlike anything in our lifetime, maybe going back to the polio epidemic back in the 1950s. And second, the nonstop protest running for nearly 5 weeks now over the killing of George Floyd. This has been a lot for the American public to absorb. And I think people are looking for a period of stability now and normalcy. And the reset really has to be kind of in the heads of the American people. I thought the president made a very good start in this respect with that speech at Mount Rushmore, where he pushed back against the politics of the left, talked eloquently about what the United States represents. And that is an argument that I think could carry him pretty far into the election, especially since the Democrats and their standard bearer, Joe Biden, are indeed affiliated, at least spiritually, with what the protesters are demanding, which is a complete revision of the American idea.
Yeah, the speech you talk of, the one at the New York Times called Dark and Divisive. I'm talking to Joe Biden because he's been tweeting and writing op-eds and says, hey, listen, the president right now has derailed us from democracy. I'm going to transform this country. My first thought was, well, you've been in politics here for more than 40 years. What exactly have you transformed up to now? What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, he's not been a major figure other than the fact he was a senator for a long time and then vice president. Look, we're going to have the conventions. Probably they will be virtual. There will be a lot of speeches. I don't think there's any doubt most of the Democrats will be aligning themselves with the protests that have just taken place, expressing a vision of America that I suspect a lot of Americans don't share. And then Joe Biden himself is going to have to appear at these conventions. He's going to have to campaign and indeed debate Donald Trump. And if I had any advice for the president, it would be to let Biden's behavior speak for itself. You do not have to take this guy down personally. He will do it to himself. The demeanor that the president showed and displayed at that Mount Rushmore speech was extraordinarily effective. And I think that's kind of what the American people are looking for here over the next 4 months.
I think you are right. Dan Henninger, as always, great stuff, Dan. Thanks for joining us.